Prog metal really feels like a difficult genre to explain on why it's good. Wilderun is a prog metal group from Boston. This is their fourth record, Epigone, and they've evolved a lot. And I'm not sure if they have gotten really, really good or understand the breach level that you can hit in prog metal, and that's about as far as you can go creatively without stepping on the wrong toes. I really think Epigon's trying to do something interesting in the prog scene. There's like three or four blanket ways you can look at prog metal. This one specifically is just about very long songs that go through every musical setting from soft and genteel, very acoustic, and then rolling, sweeping, aggressive, powerful, complex epicness where it could have either glitchy electronic touchings just peppered throughout or more additional sweeping epicness with symphonic orchestration. And that's a lot of buzzwords, honestly. It's very good, but it also has this like modern traditionalist mindset. I'm reminded of Opeth and Pain of Salvation a lot, and where those bands are right now. Other bands I think of, like Riverside. It's the very not so Dream Theater approach where it's less about complex, blistering musicianship and it's more about creating this immense path and a very painting like structure of broad strokes and dense, colorful musical language and trying to create this sense of storytelling. And it's all there, but sometimes I think they get lost in how big they making these songs. Ignoring the bonus track, there are 9 songs and 4 of them are the same name, just different parts, which is kind of weird and I'm not sure the full point of it considering that they have 3 other songs on here that are not as long, but still, 14, 11, 9 minutes, and they're just one song, and they're not split into parts. So I'm trying to understand what their main focus is in their comprehensive ideals of storytelling, and it gets kind of lost after a while. I like the starter, Wool Gatherer. There's actually a song before that, Exhaler, that doesn't really need to be there because Wool Gatherer kind of starts the same way, like almost a reprisal, so there's almost no point in the actual first track, which is a rough start, I understand. And a lot of the way that things are sung is reminiscent of one of my favorite artists, Devin Townsend, except Townsend is way more manic and aggressive, and there's more of a, minstrel storytelling style here, very soft spoken and then high, epic sweepiness again. And it's just, very up and down, but it sounds very well produced together and everything lines up correctly enough. There's some additional glitchy tech kind of musings kind of just sprinkled in Passenger and Identifier, which I think are the 2 best songs on the album. Passenger, being the shortest, has the ability to not lose any of its momentum, keeps building and building, and I think it crescendos very well. And then Identifier, not necessarily losing itself, but I think does better conveying all the ideas that Willbringer had, but without any like gaps in interest. And then the Distraction Suite at the end, it being split up into 3 separate songs makes me not really enjoy it because then I can identify how part 1 and part 3 like don't really have a lot to do with each other, it sounds like, instead of just being one big song. And then the finale, Distraction Nulla, just kind of sums it all up better in 3.5 minutes, and we didn't have to go through 3 5-minute structured songs necessarily. In a weird, sad way, I have more complaints about how this album is presented than what's actually on the table. I like a lot of what's there. It's got that huge density of progressive metal storytelling that I enjoy, but I can kind of just gather what I need out of Passenger and Identifier and sort of be done with it. Even though I really want to love Wool Gatherer, there's just something about it, especially in context of the album coming after the opening, that doesn't really justify itself, that feels like these guys were a little worried about where to put things, but it is still made super well. However, when you just got to be a little harsh about how much of an album you want to re-listen to, and it clocking in at just about an hour, and prog metal always having this issue of timing and spaced out tracks and positioning. Think Wilderun has kind of bumbled a little while still pulling off some really good songs separately. I would definitely say still listenable, Gatherer, but again, Passenger is kind of perfect, and Identifier kind of seals what they were really trying to do, I think, more than anything on this record. So begrudgingly, I want to rate it a little higher, but I'm going to give it just a flat 6, just because the more and more I think about it, the more I feel like the entire record is not up to par when you think of just how much prog metal exists and how little time sometimes you have to either consume it or really accept the idea that some records are good one-off experiences, which is what I think this is, as opposed to an experience you want to revisit again and again. It's worth at least a single listen, but then, you can pick your favorites. And the overall like storytelling isn't compelling enough to keep it all together. Even again, they separated their big finale for whatever reason out of maybe worry of the same ideas. Who knows? But that's it for this one, and appreciate you listening as always. Like, share, subscribe, and have a good night.